Hello, everybody, and welcome back to that Eurovision site, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. I'm Shiloh, and today I have with me,
Hello, my name is Euan.
and today we are going to be discussing Latvia. So, we are revisiting our pre-show Supernova discussion. Since that has been recorded, so much has happened, but specifically, Latvia had Supernova. Supernova finished, and uh, Tautumeitas with the song Bur Man Laimi was selected to represent Latvia at Eurovision 2025 in Basel. So, just generally, how are we feeling about that?
I'm happy with them. They weren't my favorite, but they're a group that I've known for quite a long time, so I'm just happy that they're getting the representation because there's not really a lot of folk or any sort of like that sort of influence in a lot of the songs this year. There's only like a small handful. So the fact that we're getting something authentic, yeah, it's great. It's not probably not the best of their songs, and I think they could have done a bit better, but yeah, I'm happy that we're just getting them.
Yeah. A thing that I said on the pre-show video is I wanted Latvia to send something that only Latvia could send, and I've gotten that.
Hmm. I feel like I would have preferred though if Lego had been because I think that's also something that only Latvia could have sent.
Yeah. And I was mostly saying it about Lego at the time, but
Yeah.
ultimately, I think that I'm really glad that Latvia has gone this route because it's sort of like just it's unique and it's going to stand out in a field of mostly really in your face songs. This
Hmm.
is a little more subtle in some ways. And it's uniquely them. And I think that's one of the things that is so much fun about Eurovision is that you get like a sense of different musical cultures and musical identities. And sometimes countries will send things that you could get anywhere else, but sometimes they don't do that. And that's what we're getting this year from Latvia, which is amazing.
Hmm. And I think it is probably going to stand out in that semi-final because that semi-final is like at the time of recording we have yet to hear
We're
Georgia and
missing like one
Israel's
song. Yeah.
Yeah, like and everything else, and it's very loud. And Bur Man Laimi, it's sweet, but it's not forgettable. So I think it does have the possibility to stand out a bit more. I don't know if it's going to qualify. I think
Yeah.
this is very much it. You could make the argument of it possibly doing so, but the running order is going to be heavily affect this. Um, Hopefully it does come after a run of like louder songs, so it's like a nice break that you're probably going to remember. But if it's sandwiched between a few or some of the bigger ballads, something like Claudia, or um Nina Zizic, I feel like it could just get lost, especially because both also do have like a bit more of an ethnic influence to them. So you could yeah. So hopefully it does, but I wouldn't like to make any guesses yet.
Yeah. I do think that I speak for the site at large when I say that it would be really nice if it qualified. I don't think there's anybody who's like, I really hate this.
Probably Lewis, because let's face it, Lewis has weird taste.
Yeah, yeah, maybe Lewis. But I think right now, in terms of our like full site, in terms of what everybody on the site has said about it, you and I have it kind of the lowest, and we have it like mid-table,
Yeah,
like
I don't
14th or
dislike it
something.
at all. I like the song. I really like it, but yeah, it says something that's in our rankings because we're people of
Conflicting tastes.
that was a lot more polite than I was going to say. There's some weird tastes on here. I'm not going to exclude myself from that narrative. So the fact that we're all like coalescing around this, it does say something.
Hmm. And I think, and the only reason that I have it that low, and this is this, I've just seized on a segue. So if we want to come back to the more general stuff, we can do that at the end. But the reason why I have it that low is really a production thing.
Hmm.
Um, I feel as though something about the production, I can't really put my finger on what because that's not really something I have a ton of experience in. but something about the technical production of Supernova made everything feel really messy and bad, and I think that is true for Bur Man Laimi. I think that I don't know if it was like the mixing or the camera or just the size of the stage or something, but it just felt a little unfinished.
Yeah, it felt a lot because all of them are harmonizing together, and it didn't really feel like there was individuals there harmonizing. The mixing sort of just felt as one.
Hmm.
It's very technical, I know, explanation of how these things work. But yeah, and I feel like you need to actually like highlight the different voices in there as they harmonize and sing together. And it
Hmm.
just wasn't coming through with in the Supernova stage. But I think that was also the same for lots of others with like the backing singers and like the backing tracks and like some of the bands as well. It just wasn't really clicking well, and I think that did hurt quite a few because the production value, I did think the production was is okay, but yeah, some of the sound mixing, quite a number of the songs are a bit off, but also the camera work was quite messy.
Hmm.
It was very, very rapid with some of the movements, and it just didn't need to be that. And some like the angles were just a bit odd, and it wasn't really highlighting or creating the right vibe for lots of the songs. Like I think Synergia and Palu were particularly bad from what I remember.
I didn't watch the whole show. I've seen clips, so I can't really pull to mind exactly what you're talking about there, but yeah. I think
Mm.
that overall the bones for good staging are there. I think that, in terms of the coloring and in terms of, the way that they are moving around, I think that there are parts of that that will work better on a bigger stage.
See, I don't think it is good. I think they need to start completely from scratch
Hmm.
because
Completely from
the way
scratch.
completely from scratch and just do something completely unique because it's the Basel stage is very distinct.
Hmm.
And the staging, I don't think it's going to scale up when you're going to be in a bigger stage. I think that one will only work in a small stage. They need to go for something completely different. I don't know what they should do, which is strange because usually we're all very argumentative about like what would be great staging. But I think that just yeah, something brand new would work completely better for this.
I think the one really constructive comment I have for them is I think that the singers need to be stationary. I think that the moving around, they didn't sync that up very well, especially with that bit where they're all sort of like moving around in front of each other. It looked pretty messy, and I think that you know there's a place for some choreography in this song, but it needs to be a little bit, and it needs to be really cleaned up and really polished. And now, obviously, they have loads of time to do that because we're recording this, I mean, at a time when Supernova was weeks ago. And even on the day that we're recording this, we still have 2 months to go until Eurovision.
Hmm.
And so they have a lot of time to make changes. And I am hopeful, confident is maybe not the right word, but I am hopeful that they will make changes because at Eurovision itself, Latvia has often put on very good staging. That's something that I think of as a strength of theirs historically. Maybe not all the time, but generally.
There's definitely like more good than bad, especially in the last years. Because yeah, even though they're not qualifying, they're still getting the vibes right, and it's just a case of the songs haven't clicked with people. But I mean, last year that was some of the best staging of
Hmm.
the year. They're using the like the size of the stage and really got the whole thing right. So I think they will get the scale right for the Basel stage. Um, and Tautumeitas, they are good performers live. They know what they're doing. So yeah, I agree with like the dancing. Maybe spotlight on just one of them doing something rather than
Hmm.
all as one.
Yeah.
Because the song, it's like there's lots of little elements of the backing track that are just like sparkle at individual moments, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't. I feel like replicating that with the staging would really like work as well, work a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the bones are there. And I think in terms of I don't know how the song itself is going to click with people. I don't know. And there's a lot that's dependent on running order and on staging with that. But it is, yeah, we can say with confidence, this is unique. There's not really quite so much like it at Eurovision this year, and that's great. And it is a song that has been made with like care and and like intention.
Mhm.
There was some thought put into this, and I haven't listened to too much of their other discography, but would I be correct in saying that it feels like it's part of their musical identity as a
Yeah,
group?
it does feel like that.
As
Um,
opposed to that thing that happens sometimes. You see this a lot with Australia, where they will send something totally different to Eurovision because oh, it's Eurovision.
yeah,
It's true to them. And I think that
yeah.
that will resonate with people. I think that that does come across in performances, whether or not you really feel connected to the song you're singing and the kind of music you're singing. And I think that that can only be an asset.
I have to agree. Like it's extremely authentic to them because I don't know all of their discography, but this felt like it was just something that's plucked out of an album rather than made for Eurovision. And something like this, when they're made for Eurovision, they just come off a bit naff. While
It
this
feels
feels
fake.
quite
You can
yeah,
see that it feels
yeah.
fake.
While this feels authentic and this works, yeah, like for this type of song, it's plucking it from an album is the best way to go.
Yeah. So it's good. And I think that Latvia have overall chosen well. I think, like we had a really strong field in Supernova this year generally. I think there were a lot of things that could have come out of Supernova that at least the fandom would have liked, and that people watching, like there would be some people watching who aren't part of the fandom who would see it and be like, "Oh, I like this. I'll go look them up." Regardless of how well they actually scored. I think that that is true.
Like
Re
I think I liked probably like eight of the songs that of the 10 songs in the final.
Mhm.
How the hell did Amelia come second?
Yeah, see, now I I think that it might come down to the production. I suspect that with the way that the production was because her staging was very simple, right? It was just
Mm.
sort of her and the microphone.
But some of the other ones are very simple as well. Like, and it's just such a terrible song.
It's so generic. It's so Nordic.
Mm. And it's just not in a good way. And the fact that City Zenny also got 12 with the juries is just wild.
Now, I did like Ramsay, but
But 12 with the juries over
yeah, that
all
doesn't
of
that
those.
doesn't quite stack up.
I mean, the juries were completely ridiculous though, because they also gave Marcus Reeve only one. Um,
Sure, yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about what else was good. What else was good?
there's so about the okay, the production was about 8 points, but something that was really good was the stage because it allowed darkness.
Hmm.
Because there's a problem in certain Eurovision and so many national finals where the stage just it's not suitable for a dark performance.
We talked about this on the stages video, I think.
Yes, yeah, this was points, and that was like one of the biggest important things for me was like the fact that you're allowing some dark, and you got those moments because even though you had like the LEDs and the light columns at the back, you could still, and you could still have the darkness, and it's not impeding the performance. It's not just like they're completely lacking light.
Yeah.
There's a proper amount of darkness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought that the lighting worked really well for Bel Tempo. I think that there were other aspects of the water's performance that could be improved upon, but I really liked the mood that was set by keeping
Mm.
everybody sort of in the dark.
Yeah, because I understand that you can't do it for certain ones in the way that with how arenas work.
Hmm.
But this one wasn't an arena. It was a TV studio, and I think that is testament to the fact that those sorts of performances are better for national finals in total. But that's just my controversial opinion. Yeah, so I really love that. I also really like the opening with the dancers
Hmm.
and the LEDs. It was just no LEDs, whatever those things are. It was fun. It was yeah. It felt like a good national final in a year of quite bad national finals.
Well, it was interesting because we got the Latvia songs very early.
Mm.
Like we got them like at the beginning of January or something like that. Maybe
Yeah,
even
because
before that.
after Montenegro and Albania, which had already qualified, which had already showed, and so we had Estonia So they're probably like I think it was the fourth country to get any of them,
Yeah, we
the
had
songs.
like Estonia, Latvia, and
Spain,
Croatia.
oh, and Greece, Croatia as well.
Croatia like all at the same time at the beginning. And so we had all of this time to like really sit with these songs. And we were sort of I think that we all had to listen to Supernova and we were like, wait, this is really good. And we're sort of hopeful that that was setting the tone for the rest of the year. And I think that I can say somewhat non-controversially that it didn't, but
Mm.
it was nevertheless a really strong show. And the artists were saying that it was a really strong show. I did a few interviews for Supernova, and everybody I talked to was like, yeah, this is a really strong show, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. And so I think that that really sets the stage for Latvia to continue to do well in the future because artists are respecting the production. The singers and the songwriters are respecting the production and have faith in the production in
Yeah,
certain ways.
and you're also getting a good amount of diversity
Hmm.
of songs in the whole contest in general. But in the final, it's a great mix of what we received in there, and there was a possibility for just going in so many different avenues for like how the country could have gone. And yeah, I think Supernova is it can be iffy at times, but I think it's come into itself, particularly more so in the last few years, and it's really good. Yeah, it's probably one of the better national finals, not just of this year, but just in general now.
Just yeah, yeah. Because they care.
Yeah,
Like they do actually care.
yeah, it's not just like, oh, we need to put something together and just
Hmm.
chuck it together like this. It's like there's thought that's going into it.
Yeah. So I'm a stats person. I'm a predictions person. Can we talk for a second? And we touched on this briefly, but how do we think what do we think is going to happen at Eurovision for Tautumeitas? And yeah, what do we think is going to happen?
With a good semi-final um running order, I think it qualifies like seventh in that sort of area,
Hmm.
and then no getting no higher. Not getting into the top 10. I can see it not being in the bottom five, so just anywhere sort of in between that sort
Hmm.
of snake area of like
Like 12th,
11th,
13th.
yeah, like to maybe like 18th, just really
Yeah.
depending on how things go.
Hmm.
But I do think that this one will benefit from the fact that this year there's a lot of televote songs and there's a lot of jury songs. There's not really a lot of those overlapping songs.
Hmm.
Um, so them just get because I can see this appealing to lower end of juries and getting a few like 2 point to 1, 2, maybe even 3 points in televotes.
Well, they have Lithuania in their semifinal, which is
Yeah.
going to be helpful.
Um, so yeah, maybe the odd like sort of top three results. So I think that there's avenues for this to get a decent amount of points, but I don't think because it's not really insisting upon itself in either the jury or the televote, it's not really going to like crack that top 10. At
Hmm.
least that's how I would see it.
Yeah, I think I there's so much loud and so much like getting in your face attention stuff that is trying so blatantly for televote points that I think a song that is not trying to do that and is just sort of like this is what we are and this is what we're presenting and if you like it you like it and if you don't like it then that's fine. I think it is going to feel I don't think it's going to totally fall flat in the televote. I think even if it gets screwed over in the running order, it'll still be at least in the top of the songs that don't qualify. 11th, 12th at worst.
Yeah, I like just looking at that semi-final. There's no way in hell it's it's not gonna it's gonna end up in the last ones.
Hmm.
And I mean I think that's going to be Serbia, but that's a different video. Because I think a lot of these songs in that semi-final you can't because it is quite a difficult one to predict. You could really realistically make um like an argument for basically everything that we have heard so far,
Hmm.
including Latvia. So it's yeah, this is a very difficult one to predict. It's a very difficult
Yeah.
semi-final to predict.
Yeah, well, and the second semifinal I think is the dynamic of the songs in the different semifinals this year is very interesting just in terms of like what songs are in which ones and like the running order is just going to play such a role in terms of I feel like semifinal 2 is probably harder to qualify from in terms of the songs, but which means that the running order is going to do a lot for the songs that actually rise to the top in the second semifinal, but also like the songs in the first semifinal because there aren't necessarily clear front runners in that
Yeah, I
so
mean, because
much.
you've only got two of the current heavy hitters of like Finland and Malta, which are really high on it, like lots of rankings. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's lots of avenues to of the way that this could go.
Yeah. So, the running order is going to come out at some point in the next what, like 4 weeks? Because the delegation meeting is coming up
Yeah, I then they official because I think the deadline is the 17th or the 18th of March.
to get all the songs out.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think possibly like they seem like they're being very slick with everything, so I can imagine this is gonna come very soon. So yeah,
Yeah.
probably by April we're gonna know who's
Yeah.
qualifying from that semi-final.
Yeah. And it'll come out and we'll take a long hard look at it and we'll make our predictions. So, yeah. But I hope they do well, and I hope that if they don't do well, they don't shy away from the musical diversity or from sending things like similar to Bur Man Laimi. And that's not really a concern that I have just based on how Supernova has gone in the past. They've gotten abysmal results over the past several years and they've just sort of kept on trucking and continued to send good songs even when those songs don't do well. And so I'm not super worried about what's going to happen if this goes badly, but I
Hmm.
just want it on record.
Yeah, like they're because we had Supernova start in 2015,
Hmm.
and then Latvia didn't qualify until 2024, and they still kept Supernova through all of that, with the exception of 2021. Um,
Hmm.
so Oh, sorry, no, they qualified in 2016. So yeah, two
Yes.
years of Supernova qualifying and then nothing until 2024. Most other countries would have cancelled this national final and just gone completely from scratch, but they haven't. They're perfecting the process, and I think it really is testament in what's come through with the songs this year.
Yeah. So our message for LTV is keep doing what you're doing.
Yes, we love you.
We love you. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
it.
do we have
I'm
any?
very I'm very just yeah. Just my last thing is that I'm very excited for Latvia in the future now because if
Yeah,
they're going to be one of the best national finals of the year.
yeah. I've learned that I should be paying attention to the Latvian music scene a little more than I already am,
Mm.
and that's really great. So, do we have anything else to say about Latvia or
No, I think yeah, just keep on doing what you're doing. Love you.
yeah? All right. So, thank you all very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, you can leave a like, you can leave a comment, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. On our YouTube channel, you can find post-national final discussions just like this one, pre-show discussions if you're curious as to what we thought before everything actually happened, interviews with competing artists. Pre-parties are coming up, so interviews will be coming out and yeah, all sorts of fun and cool stuff. You can find an audio version of this discussion on our podcast, which you can find on podcast streaming services at That Eurovision Podcast, at That Euro Podcast on socials, or on our website under the That Eurovision Podcast tab. You can head over to our website, www.thateurovisionsite.com, for the latest news, editorials, rankings, other fun stuff. We got stuff. And you can find the website on socials at that Euro site. We are on basically every majorly used social media platform, Blue Sky, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, all the ones. And you can find our socials in the description box. And thanks again for watching, and bye-bye.
Bye.